held inside Russia's most infamous prison, former US Marine Paul Whelan awaits his fate after entering the country as a tourist before being locked away in a Moscow jail cell charged with being a spy. 47-year-old Canadian-born Whelan reportedly travelling to Russia to attend the wedding of an old friend in the Marine Corps to a Russian woman. But on December 28th, the Michigan-based security director to an auto supplier was arrested by the Russian government, reportedly accused of obtaining a USB drive containing a classified list of Russian operatives. That information comes from the Russian site Rosbold, known to have ties to security services. But Russia itself has not provided any details on what Whelan is accused of. He now faces a possible 20-year prison sentence. And Paul's twin brother, David Whelan, joins me now from Toronto. David, great to have you with us. Now, you last had contact with Paul, as I understand it, on December 28th. What were your thoughts when communication fell away and then you heard about his arrest on the internet some 3 days later?
Actually, I don't know how much interaction my family had had with him that week, but that was the day that even the groom lost contact with him on the 28th. And it's just been a strange set of events ever since. We've been at first we were trying to find out if he was alive or not, and then as of a week ago, last Monday, we found on the internet the Russian press release, the ministry press release, saying that he'd been detained as a spy.
Now, you say that there is no way Paul is a spy. So what makes Russia's claims so highly improbable?
Well, I think that if there was any question that he was a spy when all of this started 10 days ago, the exposure of all of his personal information, his social media activity, his history in the Marines and his discharge from that, and other stories should prove that he really doesn't have the sort of background that any intelligence community would have hired. So that just confirms in my mind what I knew already, that Paul would not have been involved in espionage. So then, to your mind, of course, you would have been thinking about this day and night, no doubt. What does explain your brother's detention? I really don't know. I saw just a moment ago that your anchor, Ms. Ben, tweeted out that the Deputy Foreign Minister said that we would all know soon, which is great because, I mean, that's really been one of the issues for the family, is that since that first press release came out, we don't have any idea what the charges are. We don't have any idea about the details about the charges other than what we've seen in the press, which everybody else has seen. So having something official from the government, either the Russian government or transmitted through the U.S. government, who is sort of taking the lead in looking after Paul's care in Russia, would be great. Now, just for our viewers' benefit, because, of course, many of them might not have seen that tweet. In fact, as you say, Nurit Ben did speak with Russia's Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, Sergey Ryabkov, at a conference in India. Now, let's take a look at what he did say. He said that soon people will know what Paul was caught with and how it unfolded. And when it comes to when we could be told, he said, I think it's a matter of weeks, probably months, but it's pretty soon, adding that Paul is being treated decently, but he should not do what he did. And he also added that he doesn't believe there will be a release plan soon. So what do you say to that? Of course, we don't know exactly what he is being charged with and what he actually did do. Exactly. And frankly, I don't think soon is something that I would have counted in weeks or months even. I think we really should know what has happened to Paul. I think any visitor to a country like Russia should be wary now and perhaps not go to that sort of country when you can be arrested so arbitrarily with no evidence. The same gentleman, the Deputy Foreign Minister, has said that no charges have been laid against Paul yet. I think it's a really unfortunate, frightening situation for travelers, frankly. Now, you're calling on the US government to pressure Russia for Paul's immediate release. We're not talking about soon, you're saying immediate. To your mind, is enough being done? As far as I can tell, yes. We've had extremely good contact with the US Embassy. We know that the UK, Canadian and Irish embassies are now engaged and trying to get access to him, and access has been granted by the Russian ministry, but they're still trying to schedule exactly when they can get in there. So I think there are enough eyes on him to protect his immediate care and look after his rights. And now the family in North America, Canada, and the United States is focusing on whatever government levers we can use in order to bring Paul home.
Now, you wrote in a Washington Post article that you and your family were in fact surprised to learn that Paul had left the Marines with a bad conduct discharge. So while that came as a surprise, I suppose just to play devil's advocate here then, David, have you thought that perhaps spy work is something else that he might have in fact kept a secret?
I think you can keep a bad conduct discharge hidden. We all knew he'd left the Marines. We just didn't understand the circumstances under which he'd left the Marines. So I think you can keep some things like that secret from your family or your friends. I think it would be very difficult to keep the spy work secret when he wasn't living his life in any sort of clandestine or careful way. He appears to have been living it very carefree. He's a middle-aged guy like me. He was traveling. He had a job he really loved. And I think he was just enjoying life. I don't think he was doing anything related to espionage.
Now, there is talk about this being some kind of bargaining game between the US and Russia. If Russia looks to turn this into a prisoner swap, which at least at this stage it's saying it's not looking for that, will you push the US administration to comply?
I don't think Paul's family would say no to anything that got Paul to come home. But at the same time, the professionals in the U.S. government and in the other governments who are dealing with this, both the policymakers and the people behind the scenes who affect the policy, really know best what will be the best way to get Paul home. And so if a trade is the method, then that's fine with the family. But we would be happy anyway for Paul to come home.
Now, of course, Paul's privacy has been completely hacked apart, everybody looking for details and pieces of information to put this puzzle together. So I understand that Paul had a long-standing enthusiasm, I suppose you could call it, for Russia. What do you make of the claims that he had an account on Russian social media, a media site called VKontakte, using it to reach out to ordinary Russians that he often didn't know to try and befriend them? Did that seem a bit curious to you?
Not really, and I don't think he is the Russophile that he's been portrayed in the media. Certainly to the family, we know him as someone who travels a lot and not necessarily frequently to Russia. He travels to many places, and so I think the focus of him as being someone who has been significantly to Russia or maybe exclusively to Russia is incorrect. And I think that would be true. It would be more easy to understand, or easier to understand, if he wasn't in a Russian prison. As far as the VKontakte, I don't think that that's surprising either. I think when we use social media, we tend to use social media on the platforms where the people that we want to interact with gather. And so Paul was on Facebook and he was on VKontakte, and he interacted with people who had military backgrounds like himself. And so I think from that perspective, no, I'm not really surprised that he was there. Nor that he was interacting with similar sorts of people, Western folks on Facebook.
Well, I hope at least you are given some answers soon. David Whelan, thank you for being with us on Perspectives and sharing all of that with us. Very briefly, we turn to our senior international affairs correspondent, Owen Alterman. Owen, just very briefly before we go out for a break, is this the way that Russia normally plays this kind of game?
Well, Tracy, there have been plenty of precedents in the past of prisoner swaps, either between the United States and the Soviet Union, and in recent decades between the United States and Russia, one about 10 years ago. The most famous one who was swapped is Anna Chapman, that Russian spy in the United States. It could be in a way of getting to the end game here as well.
All right, Owen Alterman.